Now we have our next guest in the background. Paul, just give me a thumbs up if you're ready to join us.
Other Paul.
Paul, be Paul.
I knew
Hi, Paul.
Today because we have two Pauls.
That's right. We're in trouble now.
Yes, it's going to be a good day.
Good. I didn't even think about it.
It's like talking to ourselves. We're going to do great today.
Exactly. It's the mirror image.
Right? My brother from another mother.
Exactly.
I love the glasses, the whole look going on there.
Yeah. And I'll say this real quick. I named my daughter Paula and my son Paul Jr. So there you have it.
Oh, very good.
One is in trouble, we're all in trouble.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll just have a group chat now. Bring them in.
Bring them all in, yeah.
So, Paul, I love the silliness, but I love to also start with a question just to shake things up so that I don't get your pre-programmed elevator responses.
Got it.
And I also want to get to know who you are behind your business, behind your message. So, Paul, here's my opening question, which is also a research question. If you could have other people describe you in 3 words, as close as possible, what would you love those 3 words to be?
I would love, and great question, by the way, Laura. I would say that 3 words would be Paul is very determined. Paul wants to make a difference. And Paul is here to serve. So a servant leader.
And at the same time, this pen is dead.
Yeah.
Grab another.
You need a dartboard on the other side of the room.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought about it. I'm not very good at the darts, though, because my fingers don't work that well. So.
Oh, you're throwing it like a knife, not a dart. It's get it out of here. Not that I've ever thrown knives before. I'm just sorry.
Okay, so determined, make a difference, and to serve. The obvious follow-up question is, how do these 3 words, and I'll repeat them again, that you're determined, you make a difference, and that you like to serve or a service leader, how do they play a key role in the message that you have for people?
Fantastic question. And when I add them all up in this trinity, it really comes back to when I was growing up. I was 10 years old, and that's when I actually started working. My parents were factory workers, and they came up with this side hustle. Back then, it wasn't called a side hustle. It was just they would open up a community grocery store. And I was happy, jumping for joy, until my father volunteered me because, Paul, no, I did not raise my hand.
Voluntold.
Yes. And so I've actually been working since that time. And when you talk about determination, my parents didn't earn a lot of money. And I'm one of 10 children, 5 boys and 5 girls. And so they didn't have a lot of money. So when it comes down to that determination and what I do today, I let everyone know that their way forward is through self-leadership. You have to be able to lead yourself. And in order to do that, you want to have to get clarity about who you are, your values, and your beliefs. And don't try to lead or influence anyone else until you can lead yourself. And that's one principle. Then when I look at the aspect of the second part of that is to ensure today that when I work with an organization, that I let them know that because they have the title, they're not the only leader of the organization. Ooh. They're not the only leader. Right. You have a leader with the title, of course, we know that, a president or a general, because I served in the Air Force for 22 years. Yeah. And then you have a manager or supervisor. They manage the workflow for the employees at the behest of the leader with the title. So the supervisor and manager are also leaders in their function, and then employee. Without the employee, the work doesn't get accomplished, doesn't get done. The leader's vision, mission, and their goals are not met. So when we pull them all together, I want to ensure that organization, when I work with them, that everyone is trained with the same trainer with leadership development so that they can all be on the same sheet of music. But it extends beyond that. It extends also to if they have a cook within the organization, the building. Some companies have cooks there. They have a place for them to eat. For example, when I worked in the Pentagon, I worked there for 12 years. We could go to the cafeteria. You have to train them. If you have security at the building facility, you have to train them. And then, Laura and Paul, you also have to train the subcontractors.
Mhm.
Everyone should be trained. And once everyone is trained, it gives them a competitive advantage. And the reason why it does is because, sadly, most organizations don't do this, but it's necessary.
Key thing that stood out to me was you used the words "the same sheet of music."
Very same. That's what I wrote down. Playing the same music. That's so important. And the consistency. Sorry, Laura, to jump on that one. You nailed it. And to have both of us resonate with that statement, that's powerful.
Yes, an orchestra.
Wow. I mean, I was following along and I'm thinking to myself, well, this reminds me of some of the leadership programs I've been through and things where you own it, and leadership comes from where you're at. So I could be the guy on the front floor who's the laborer doing the work. And as you say, I still got to do the work. But if I haven't been trained exactly what to do and my vision isn't clear because it wasn't given to me clear enough, and I'm going to someone else whose vision is corrupted because they weren't trained, and yet the guy who wants the vision to be followed hasn't stepped forward and said, let me show you. The
Absolutely.
tell, show, do. Let's follow through at least the basic steps.
For sure. Absolutely.
No, that's I mean, and getting everybody on the same page.
Same page. Absolutely.
Tap, tap, tap. Everybody.
Also, when you first said it, I am picturing an elementary school music classroom where everybody has the same sheet of music, but it does not sound very nice. Then you also mentioned training. So now if you take that vision that translates to the sheet of music, everybody has the same vision. They're told how it's supposed to run and the processes. But now when you add that layer of training, you're adding the skill of working together.
Yes.
Not just doing your own part and being like, I could do it on my own. Well, the timing needs to fit. You need to know when your cues are, just in case somebody's closed.
Right.
Not closed. Like faster or slower.
Exactly. Get the flow.
Right.
Absolutely. Getting the flow. Yeah, well, I not only served in the Air Force, I was a military officer for 22 years, but I also had after 8 years, I left as a captain and I went to Mobil Oil Company in Beaumont and Houston, Texas. So it gave me even a different perspective of leadership. I had to really almost put the military leadership side down for a while and take on the corporate leadership. The first thing that Mobil Oil did to me as one of their professional employees, they put me in an ethics course. And in that ethics course, I learned communication and how Mobil actually works, and then how the interchangeable parts. As an example, it was an aromatics plant, an olefins plant. For example, if you go to the gas station and you're pumping gas and you smell that, that's what it is, that smell. And of course, they had a multi-million-dollar operation. And then I had to conduct some audits. And so we would bring in one of the high-powered auditing firms in the middle of the night, because you go to the tank farm, you have to climb the tank farm, get the volume, the amount in there, and you also had to determine the temperature. The temperature kind of determined that. And as you're walking, Laura and Paul, there are alligators beneath you, real alligators.
Okay.
Because it's at a wharf in Texas.
Right. So
you really have to be on your P's and Q's. And so I would lead that particular audit so that we can find out exactly where we were. We brought in chemical engineers. We brought in our logisticians. We brought everyone in at about midnight, and we might go for a couple of hours just to get what we need for that annual audit itself. So it's different forms of leadership. And it really taught me a lot, because when I was in the Air Force, I attended every leadership school. They had the initial school, which is called Squadron Officer School, then Air Command and Staff College, then Air War College. And I blended all of those leadership schools together. Then been at the Pentagon for 12 years, the General Colin Powell, he was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs at that time. So I really looked up to him like a lot of the other junior officers did. And ultimately, I worked in the legislative office, and I would escort the generals to Capitol Hill to meet with the members of the House and Senate Armed Services Committee. And so I kind of cut my teeth on legislation. And then ultimately, I went on Capitol Hill and worked for a member of Congress for a year in the Capitol Hill Fellowship Program. So I was actually up there helping write the draft legislation for bills, different things like that. Yeah. That's leadership. Why I lost my hair, Paul.
Oh, very good. Leadership right from the front line and from some of the biggest leader, examples in the world. That's Absolutely. Powerful. Wow.
Yeah, it was a very unique experience. And people ask me, they say, well, how can you take orders from someone every day? I said, well, that's like TV. They don't do that in real life. Mm-hmm. What they do is when people ask me what was my experience like in 22 years, the United States Air Force and the Department of Defense allowed me to be Paul. They allowed me to be me.
Right. Gave you the opportunity to grow and be the best you possible.
Absolutely.
Was it that's not what you can do, or something like that?
Right. Not what
your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Yeah, that's the one.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it was. And so it was, right. And people ask me, say, well, how are you able to do that? Well, I went through ROTC for 2 years. I attended Shaw University in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I cross-enrolled at North Carolina State University. And they had a 2-year Air Force ROTC program. I had to go to basic training. I went to Dover, Delaware for that. I had never flown on a plane. Imagine that. The 3rd week of the basic training, they put us on the C5, which is the length of a football field. Mm-hmm. And they fly us over Bermuda. And so I successfully made it on my first flight. I was happy.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, they flew us to Columbus, Mississippi, and put us in a Air Force jet, a 2-seater. We went up to 10,000 feet, and then the trainer pilot, he told me, Paul, take the stick. The stick is like the steering wheel in a car. And so I flew the plane for a little while myself, and then he started doing wheelbarrows. We're flying straight, and then he would go upside down, right side up.
Your stomach goes upside down.
I maintained myself. I was in pretty good shape then, so I could handle it. I was younger, I could handle it. But it was a leadership exercise in and of itself. Mm-hmm. Because you have communication skills. You have to be very disciplined. You have to really listen to what they're talking about from the control tower as you're flying this plane. And then deep down inside, you're praying, oh, please let us make it back to the ground.
The silent prayer.
The silent prayer.
Right?
Absolutely.
Paul, did you happen to, or have you found that there's any one sort of thought that transferred all the way across in those different concepts of leadership? Is there a singular thread that you would say is a core of everything?
Yes, in fact, great question, Paul. And I think the single core for me was the aspect of, as I mentioned before, being of service and wanting to make a difference. And I know serving in the military, when it comes to leadership, Grace Hooper, she was an admiral. In fact, she's the person that's responsible for us being on the computer today, because she was the first one to come up with coding for the computers, the language. She's since passed, but she came to our leadership class in Montgomery, Alabama at Gunter Air Force Base. And she made this comment, which is going to be the central theme here, Paul. In fact, she stated that in the military, we've managed far too much. You should manage things, budgets, resources, but we need to get back to leading people.
Right.
And so the central theme is we have to become better leaders, because each individual, all 3 of us here, if we continuously work on becoming better leaders, we in fact become that. That becomes our reality. And then we teach someone else the same thing that we know, and on and on. And so the stronger leaders that we have, the stronger communities we have, and the stronger regions and countries that we have. And it really comes down to that. It's really, the central thing is to become the best leader that you can be.
And I like that.
Yes. And I wrote a book called Leadership as Influence. And one of the people that I referenced was Walter Bennis. And Walter Bennis is one of the foremost leadership authorities. And he said that there's no such thing as a born leader. Leaders have to be developed over time. So in my book, I use an example that I like to use. I use Tom Brady, who I like. I love to see him play football when he played. And this is the sample. I said, with Tom Brady is a tremendous 7 Super Bowls, New England Patriots, but he was not a born leader. He was drafted late in the rounds in the NFL, but man, did they really develop him. And he became a great leader. And they gave him the opportunity to do that. And that's just one example that I talk about in the book. And it's very important that we do that. And I talk about a 3-pronged approach to becoming a leader of influence. And the first prong is to be a continuous learner.
Right.
And to be a continuous learner, you want to read some books about some amazing leaders. You want to attend some seminars. You want to study them, different books. And then you want to, the next step you want to take, step 2, is that you want to actually give employees some experience. Put them on a special project, like I was put on that special project with Mobile Oil with the audit. And you give them that experience and allow them to fail. Failing is leads to success. It's okay. Fail forward, but give them that experience and they will become a better leader because they would have learned a lesson. And then number 3 is actually put the individual, the employee or the manager, or in some instances, the leader with the title, in a leadership development program. Because once you have those 3 together, there's no way you can lose. You can't lose that formula. Yeah. And that's really what my particular experience and journey was like.
I love that. And I love that Paul already knew where my question was going to go next about being able to connect all of your very unique and seemingly different experiences of leadership. So I'm gonna piggyback on what Paul asked and ask you, where do you see your version of this core of leadership going in the future? Where do you see that conversation leading?
That conversation is going to be leading to organizations really embracing leadership, because we know right now one of the big issues is the workforce. It is people, unfortunately, losing their jobs. The workforce and the workplace is chaotic right now. And where I see it going is being able to, the employees who remain behind, that we retain them. And the best way to retain them is through professional growth, by putting them in leadership development courses, communications courses, negotiating courses, and even more. Because to me, that's the most important part. Without the employees who are leaders, you really can't manage your company. And we know right now, we can just use an example of farms. Farming is the most important aspect of any country. It truly is. If you can't eat, you can't fight. That's the way we say it in the military.
Yeah.
You have to be able, and now we know that we're losing these employees, and the farmers are about to lose their farms. And that's just one example. And then the automobile industry, the same thing. They're losing employees. And a lot of it is just in terms of, can they make that adjustment? And that takes leadership decision. Can they make that adjustment to retain and maintain their business operations? Because right now, small business is the dominant business in this country. It's just a lot of them. But if they go out of business, then you don't generate revenue. If you don't generate revenue, you can't have services that are coming through the different appropriations that are up there: energy, education, defense, interior. If we can't fund those areas, then things won't be as well as they should be, because it all comes down to leadership decisions.
Right. Do you think that there's anything in that leadership realm? I mean, in the workforce, we've got so many inexperienced people now that need a job, and we're so strapped in needing good employees. I've seen a mass migration of people leaving the workforce or become entrepreneurs because of this new wave that we're going through.
Absolutely.
And it's created this vacancy where the new upcoming generations are filling those gaps, but they don't have the work experience, which goes right back into your leadership training, making sure that everybody's got the same, even the desire to be here to put in an honest day's work and do your job.
Absolutely. Right? Yes. I think one of the interesting things that are taking place right now, everything is very dynamic. Mm-hmm. And people have just like Wall Street, they have their ears to the tracks to see what's coming, if you will. And the businesses are the same way. And when we look at quite a few of the federal funding going away for different projects, NIH as an example, right here where I live here in the Washington, D.C. area, the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, those type of people impacted programs, it's going to be tough. So here's my spin on it. Okay, so if Medicare goes away, Social Security goes away, I only have one choice left. I have to get in shape, right?
Yeah.
But everybody's not going to do that. But you have to start looking at a fallback position. Looking at one example, FEMA. Okay, we've had a lot of FEMA employees that no longer are employed. The budget has gone down. I actually spoke at one of those camps in Texas. I was on a speaking tour and I was in Brownwood, Texas. So I checked to see, did they flood? They didn't flood that much. But when I spoke there, I stayed overnight there in that camp. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, what if they had flooded then?
Right.
And so when we start looking at the different items and different categories of work that we have to protect it. And I think for a lot of people and people who don't have that experience, Paul, they can always go to what we call the one source in the local community. And it's like a job. They train you for a job.
Yeah.
And after I retired from the Air Force, I worked in what's called family readiness for the National Guard Bureau. So if we had some soldiers or airmen who were deployed, let's say to Iraq and Afghanistan, we had a program set up that helped. If they needed food, we would get them food. If they needed someone to assist some counseling, if one of the children had a problem, so they put me on a 12-city speaking tour, and I went to speak to the families about resilience and how they could make it in the absence of their loved one who was serving in the military, and sometimes it was both parents.
Wow!
So it put a lot of burden on the grandparents or the guardians there. So, but the community one source, you can call them up locally. They exist at every community, and people can go there and they would pay jobs. And sometimes they would pay up to $40,000 if you was a teacher. If you're not certified to be a teacher, they would pay about $40,000 for you to be trained to become a teacher and get your certification and pass the tests and more.
Nice.
Wow. Your leadership thinking there, right? I know the analogy of people don't leave jobs, they leave bad management.
Leave bad management.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yes. And so I definitely see that link in there, that when you're training your team right from the beginning and everybody's on the same sheet of music and you've got the right conductor, and then you get the percussionists in there going beating their own drum, and everything just goes sideways.
Well, I have a keynote speech coming up Friday, and it's titled Lead Yourself First. Adversity demands self-leadership. And in this particular speech that I'm going to deliver Friday, which I've practiced 1,000 times, I talk about the fact that when someone runs into adversity, that there are 3 things that they can do. Number 1, they have to be resilient. And by being resilient, it means that they have changed their mindset and how they're going to approach the adversity.
That it's not a problem, that it's something we can work through.
Mm-hmm. I think you froze for a moment.
Yeah, no, I'm there with it. Absolutely. That's he's deep. This is really fabulous. I'm
And so what happens with this resilience, what happens is that it prepares you. It helps you to recover, given that the adversity that you're facing at that time. And then the second part of that is self-awareness, being aware of who you are, what your values are, how you think, your thoughts, and your beliefs. So when we look at the different aspects of being able to overcome adversity, and this is in the workplace, if you can lean into the resilience, the self-awareness, and last but not least, emotional intelligence.
Oh, EQ. Woo!
There it is. EQ, because EQ helps one to identify with and control themselves, control their emotions, and so they'll be able to communicate clearly what the problem that they're experiencing. So when we look at this emotional intelligence, we have to be able to position ourselves to think it through. So if you add in the resilience, the self-awareness, and the emotional intelligence, that will help people to become victorious in spite of the quicksands of life that they may be experiencing at the time.
I think you're in my brain, Paul. Because just this morning, before coming live, I was thinking to myself, I was like, what are those daily small habits that we can tell to entrepreneurs or people just getting started in business who don't have the financial backing, who are just kind of desperate to get started? How can we give them small little things to work on that doesn't have to cost them $10,000 worth of coaching yet? Mm-hmm. Where they can start all of these practices and get some sort of experience with it, just like you mentioned earlier, so that they can get the funds to start paying for the $10,000 coaching.
Well, I tell you,
or the conference or whatever.
Right. You asked the right person the right question.
Earlier
this year, I joined a couple of grant programs. One fizzled on me. Nothing really came out of it. But then I joined another grant program. And when I name this person, you're going to know who they are.
Oh.
His particular name is Matthew Lesko. You heard of Matthew? He wears the jackets with all like question marks on it, everything.
Maybe.
And I joined his program. It's $97 a year. I applied for 2 grants with him, actually 3 grants with him through his program. And I received 2 out of the 3 just last month.
Good for you.
Just last month.
Never seen him before.
Yeah, Matthew Lesko, Lesko. Yeah. He's been doing grants for 50 years. So if people are looking for a program, and it's called Lesko Help 2, and you can apply not only locally but nationally as well. But most grants come out of areas locally, and even though a lot of the grants and everything have been stopped, they're not stopped completely. And on a 100% scale, 60% will try to get your money to pay for these grants, but 40% nonprofits and wealthy people, they will provide money. There are 40% of the country that still gives out grants. And Matthew Lesko calls that love. When he talks about the 60% that want money for you to say, go on Google and do a search, they want money. But I'm here to tell you, I applied for 2 grants for my business, and I applied for 3, and I received 2 grants just last month.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a great source. And I mentioned that one source earlier. That's also a part of his program where he tells you, give you the source. He has there's a website called findhelp.org. I think I have that right. And you can just type in a zip code.
Oh, so U.S. only?
Yeah, predominantly U.S. Okay. Predominantly U.S. And but I think there are some grants for outside the country as well. But when you type in that zip code, it will give you anywhere between 400 to 500 different sources.
And that are within that jurisdictional area, or
within that, like it'll probably cover the entire state.
Okay.
And so They said, well, okay, so how do you win these grants? You don't do it by just filling out the form online. You have to call them. And you don't ask them, hey, I need $10,000 to attend this course. I need some financial assistance, or I need assistance for my house to help repairs in my house, or I need medical assistance or dental assistance. They're just a potpourri or mixture of different grant opportunities in there. And it's free. You don't pay them a penny.
Because they want to help.
Because they're there to help. Absolutely, Paul. They're there to help.
And that makes all the difference, right? That in this looking for the assistance from the entrepreneurial starting point, right? We get so caught in that whirlwind, and I get the vision of grandeur. This is where I need to go, and this is how I got to get there. But then I get that hurdle of, oh my gosh, I've got to have this fee to register. I've got to have a license. I've got to have that, and then this. And now my monthly bill's already capped out, and how do I even pay my internet connection?
And they can pay your bills.
Wow.
Help you pay your bill, because their sources. The organization you call may not have that funding, but they have sources of people that do, an organization that do. I was thinking about philanthropy earlier. That's the other part of it, nonprofits and philanthropy as well. That people are sitting there, they want to make a difference, and they can make a difference. And that's what they're there for. And this is leadership too. That's what we're talking about.
Yes.
We're talking about leadership here.
It is. It's really, it's not what you know in some cases. It's the who you know. Because when you really connect together, and if I don't know, I don't know, but I need to have a well of somebody to go to that can help me source, and they may not be able to help me immediately within what I'm looking for, but their help still leads me to someone else who leads you, right? 6 degrees of separation, or whatever number you want to put in. We're all connected, and let's resource and build the network. That's so cool. What a concept.
And when we look at it, we're talking 8 billion people on planet Earth, right?
Right.
We have the ability to save this planet.
Yeah.
We really do.
Just curious on that one. Just a question. Where there's 8 billion people on the planet, do you know your neighbor?
I do.
Excellent.
I know all of
right.
them.
Right.
In fact,
Perfect.
My neighbor, he had some electrical problems last year. I'm not sure why. And he said, hey, can I use electricity from your house, run a line from your house to my house? I said, give me the cord. Right?
Yeah, right.
Your neighbors. Perfect. And then my other neighbors on the other, they're from the Philippines. My other neighbors, they're from Africa. Neighbors across the street, they're from the Caribbean. Yeah. And then I have neighbors from Buffalo, New York. So I know all of my neighbors.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
And Laura, you were shaking your head. You knew yours too. That's
yeah. Like we only moved here a year and a half ago. I know all my neighbors.
Yeah,
and actually, my daughter was fundraising to go to Toronto last month. And so we spent all this school year going around every month saying hello to all the neighbors. And I made her come with me specifically to get to know our neighbors.
Familiarity.
Yeah.
Well, and of course, you all know that with me growing up in a family, both my parents worked. They had strong work ethic. But I learned how to communicate. I had an older sister and we helped raise our younger sibling. So I know how to communicate.
And dealing with people at such a young age, at 10 years old, you're busy doing your thing, and you have to speak. Like, we changed the way we talk based on who we're associating with. If you're paying attention. Speak their language, and you learn to speak adult or in the service industry, asking all the right questions at the right time.
Yeah.
So important.
Yes. In fact, I have a once funny story here. I want to just share that real quick, and I know you have to move forward.
A couple minutes.
Okay. I was about 12, and the bread delivery truck came that day. So after school, he met me. We went into the store, and he said, here's the invoice. So I went to the cash register to get the money out to pay him. There was a snake on the cash register, on top of the cash register. I ran out of the store so fast. He said, what happened? What happened? I said, I'm not going back in there. There was a snake on the cash register. On that day, they found out that I was going to be on the track team one day, and I was. He said, I've never seen anyone move so fast. And I never
born in the fire. Watch me run.
Right. It was what they call it. It was not feast or famine, but it was like fear.
Fight or flight.
Fight, right. fight or flight, and my feet was moving faster than I could. I was trying to keep up with my feet. But it was a good life lesson. It was a good life lesson. Yes.
At this point, Paul, I want to make sure that we know where to find you and, of course, your favorite way to communicate.
Sure, and thank you so much for asking that, Laura, Paul. They can contact me. I'm going to go on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is just a great platform for that. They can find me at linkedin.com at Paul Lawrence Vann. Yeah, so it'd be at Paul Lawrence Vann. And or they can go to my website, which is www.paulvannspeaks.com. And I also, as you can see in the background, I host a podcast. I'm up to about 300 episodes now.
Ooh.
And it's called Wealth Academy Podcast. Wealth is more than just money, which gives not only the financial experts a chance to speak, but people who are in relationships to speak, people who are in negotiation. I've brought on all kinds of guests from all over the world and brought them on. Yes.
Well, the wealth and money is not necessarily in money itself. The wealth is in the relationship and the connection, right? The journey.
Yes. Love, joy, happiness, peace of mind.
Yes.
Just all elements of that. Yes.
I'm really looking forward to connecting with you, Paul. Again,
here.
so we can carry on the conversations.
Yes,
There's so much that you've got packaged. I just love it, and your flow on leadership. I think that was groundbreaking. If I could just jump ahead, Laura, before you ask that next question, and be the best you can be. It sounds like the slogan, but from a leadership point of view, I'm okay if it doesn't go exactly the way we needed it or was expected first time. Does everything ever go right the first time? So having that grace to be able to say, just do your best, be the best you can be, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely.
A leader that can actually open up enough to be able to say that and share that with their team is a massive step for growth. And
Absolutely.
When everybody can embrace that, again, we're back onto the same sheet music and everyone's, okay, here's that note. Let's go. Oops. Triangle person, where are you? Ding. Right. And thank you. I just want to share and say be the best you can be. You have lit that little torch under me again, remembering that there's so much more to share. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. And one of the things I look at is a leader cannot really lead unless he knows who the people that are working with him. And the only way that you can work with him, a lot of times with organizations, if, for example, I work for a lot of 2- and 3-star generals, and you kind of can't touch them, so to speak.
Yeah.
They keep you separated from them. But I found myself just being who I am. And again, that was my secret, to go in and just be Paul. Yes. And one day I went to a meeting for the generals held, and only 2-star generals could go there. And I was I think a major at the time, a lower ranking officer. And the general said, you go and represent me because you know what you're talking about in this multi-billion-dollar budget. So I went to the meeting. They said, well, we can't let you in. I said, well, sir, respectfully, if I can't leave, because if I leave, I'll probably get fired. So I can't leave. Right.
Well, put the ownership where it has to go, right? I'm directed to be here.
Yeah, I'm directed to be here. I'm under an order right now, and I have to deliver this. And that's just one example, because the general knew me, I knew him, so he could trust me, and I trusted him.
Yep.
So it was mutual. But you have to know who your employees are. You need to know who the supervisor manager is, because they're leaders. You have to know who the employees are, because they're leaders as well. The work doesn't get done without them. And that was an example of it there.
Yeah. Is there anything in there around that, the stigma of, I can't have friends at work because you're my worker or my colleague, but if I don't know really, again, who you are as a person? Because I experience this all the time. We're having coffee time chat right now, and I'm getting to know you. We're talking about the kids and what you do for fun, but we're supposed to be at work. And if I don't know who you are or what makes you tick at home, do I really know you at work? Right. Or you're two different people together, right?
Exactly. I think for me, both at the Pentagon, Capitol Hill, and Mobile Oil, everybody knew each other. Mm-hmm. And I'm an open book. I love people. Right. How couldn't I? I grew up with 9 brothers and sisters, right? I love people. I have friends all over the world. Saudi Arabia, India, Italy, Belgium, you name it. I have friends all over. And again, a lot of that is just by virtue of really being yourself. But as you stated, Paul, from a leader standpoint, the best thing they can do is have events so that people can get to know who they are, because that brings cohesion to the organization.
Mm-hmm.
And you know who you're working with. And of course, I went through a few wars in the Pentagon, and you really need to know who you're working with then.
Right. Yeah, who's your allies and who's not really your ally. Yeah. Right.
Exactly. And you're not gonna work just 20, you're not gonna work 8 hours. You're gonna work sometimes 24, 25 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
And I found myself doing that one time. We had to negotiate with the Dutch embassy in Washington, D.C. So we have to go down to their embassy and negotiate on behalf of the United States. And we went in there. We stayed up all night going through the cost estimate, because we were going to provide some training for them. And so we stayed up. We went to the Pentagon gym. We showered, put our uniform back on, took the metro to the embassy, and we negotiated with them. Now I had one eye open because I was really sleepy, but we were able to get it done.
Yeah,
I want to take this time. Sorry, I have to cut you off. We only have about 20 seconds.
30 seconds.
Thank you so much, Paul, for being here with us.
And this is the book with the strategies. Leadership is Influence. Thank you both so much, Laura and Paul, and continued excellence in all that you do.
Awesome. So I will call this the official close of the interview. Now we have some time to just chat. I was like, oh God, I got to get that under 42 minutes. I think we were right on the line there.
Right on the line.
Because I don't want you to be cut off in the middle of a sentence on online TV.
Sure, no problem.
So we're going to take the next couple minutes to chat a little bit more. I like to use this space to recap some of our favorite things and reflect on our conversation, because this part is great for social media. So I'm going to start with you, Paul.
Sure.
What is something that stood out to you in our, the guest Paul. The guest Paul. What is something that stood out to you during our conversation?
If one Paul is in trouble, the other one is too. Remember?
That's right.
I think what stood out for me is just the amazing questions, the depth of the questions, and then we circling back around to reconnect and bring that particular discussion and dialogue back around. And that way it was feeding more into the viewers and the people who are listening on the archive as well. But I believe that is the wonderful questions that you asked me. And I tried to share things through the stories. And so that's part of what I did, kind of giving people a behind the scenes look at what this, that, or the other was like. And so, yeah, that was good. I was going to talk more about Capitol Hill, but I didn't.
Well, we're trying to pull some of the political stuff out of it. But I get that when you're in politics and the military, it just kind of is there.
It's kind of there.
Yeah. And funny, as a speaker, the three things you're not supposed to talk about: politics, money, and religion. Here we are, right in the middle of most of it. Jump right in.
But we're doing it in a nice way.
Yes, right?
Yeah. You have to be careful, though.
Yes, be careful. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So then, other Paul, co-host Paul, what is something that stood out to you?
Well, you reminded me. I really like that. Get everybody on the same page in the music, as that flowed through several times, and we began to play with it at the end, right? So, thank you for leading the way you did. My questions were stimulated definitely by the fact that you were bringing up the desire to know more. And as a leader in communication, I think that is something when you can create that desire to learn and know more. Call it the curiosity, or and you started by simply asking the question, well, what do you think? And how do you perceive this? Right? Once we engage people that way, which you did, and I just love that, because the phrase that really sticks out, and you reminded me so dearly, thank you, is that we manage things and we lead people. Yes. And we have to lead by my Blue Talk speech is called walking the talk.
Oh,
right? So either you're walking and you're sharing your example, because it doesn't matter what I say. If I'm not genuinely walking and producing that I speak, then I'm just full of the air.
Exactly.
Right? So I think that was really great. You lead people by the example that you yourself will journey. And you have led, my friend. That's just
I've had
amazing.
a good time. I had the opportunity to meet one of my favorite speaker, Zig Ziglar, at the Speakers Association event. He was my favorite. And with Zig, he was just a authentic individual, human being. You know, he had his faith. He was a man of faith. He loved his family. Years later, I interviewed his daughter, Julie. And Julie talks about the story that everyone looked up to Zig Ziglar. He was just an outstanding man. And she said, at the same time, I was struggling with alcohol for many, many years. And she almost had tears in my eyes. But she tells me, she said, well, there's this thing called redemption. And to me, that's really what life is all about. You get knocked down 7 times, you get up 8.
Right.
Yeah,
and you were mentioning about surrounding yourself with people that lead you forward and things too. That's so important in that too.
Yes. But I think the key for all of us when it comes to leadership is to be the example for others to follow. And I know with Laura and you, Paul, that we let our light shine so others can see what's possible for them.
Got to be the beacon. Yeah.
It's got to be the beacon. Absolutely.
So Paul already took my takeaway, but I'm going to share something.
Sorry.
Come on, Paul. The other thing that stood out to me was you were talking about how to overcome adversity. And you said, number 1 is be resilient. Number 2 is self-awareness. And number 3 is your emotional quotient or your EQ.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, right.
My takeaway is that you and I need to have a deeper conversation that is recorded and publicized about this stuff. So I will reach out to you, or you can reach out to me behind the scenes.
I'll do that.
We'll make that happen.
I want to connect with Paul too.
Yes, absolutely. I think we've got a lot to share together, and I would even be honored to have that conversation again, like we're having on my platform, the 3 of us, because we've already got an established rapport, and we can just continue to grow off of that. Before I get out of this one with you guys, Core Strengths, the SDI program, is one of the tools that I utilize for connections and communications, and it really helps you understand yourself. And you were speaking that EQ, and as soon as you said it, it went, in order for you to know that you're putting out there what you need, right? I can give you guys a presentation, the best to my ability that I think is right, but it's not your language, so it falls flat, and you don't pull it in, or I put too much into it, and my self-confidence when I use that strength, because I am very confident. Yes. But if it's overpowered or overdone, then it's perceived as being arrogant. Correct. So being aware of that when I took that program, it just made me go, wow, that's how I'm perceived by the people I'm attempting to lead. I'm thinking I'm sharing this great self-confidence, but they're going, this guy's such an arrogant bastard, whatever, so just being aware of that, I would like to suggest, if you guys haven't checked it out, maybe have a look. And they do have a free link that you can take the assessment. And at least the last time I checked, they did. And it would be wonderful for a tool for you.
Sorry. We're running late.
Sorry, just so much to share, right?
I'll connect with both of you. And thank you all so much, and have a great day. And thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul.